Good afternoon. I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching. As always, it is appreciated. Consider liking and subscribing if you find this video instructive and valuable. It is appreciated. Couple of Reform UK councillors have been elected recently, so well done to these guys. We've got Councillor John Booker up in Stockbridge, Upper Don, Sheffield Council. And we've also got Councillor Brian Smith, and he's up in North Tyneside. Welcome change from the likely Labour councillors they have replaced. I'm sure they'll do a better job at least than the Labour councillors that were there before them. Well done and all the best. Now my MP, Sarah Pochin for Runcorn, she's actually been upsetting all the right people, specifically 3 on LBC recently about banning religious face coverings in public, and specifically for security purposes, and also more broadly speaking face coverings in general. So she wants to ban the religious face coverings such as the burka, the niqab and the hijab, and broadly speaking face coverings. Now the situation is, up until very recently, these type of coverings were never normalised in the UK. It's just something we've never ever had. Either religious or non-religious coverings. Never let anybody tell you different, because they are lying and they are being disingenuous and they're not wanting to have a conversation in good faith. Those are the warnings I'll give you, because we're going to see a lot of this in this video. We're going to kick off this video now, and what we'll do is I'll pause it and I'll give comment when I feel it's appropriate.
Should there at least be a debate around banning the burqa, Sarah Pochin?
Absolutely, there should, Kevin. Clearly this was my first question to the Prime Minister, which of course he didn't answer, because he doesn't seem to be able to answer any questions. Why was it
your first question? Because I'm thinking there were so many other things you could have asked. Why did you choose that?
Because I wanted to, well, first of all, massive issue in the by-election with asylum seekers, immigration, and the threat to women's safety, the cultural integration in the society. So there's that whole issue. But also I wanted to raise the point of public safety. The fact is that our police have a tough job as it is. All face coverings, I've actually widened and always meant it to be a question about face coverings, except when you're making a point and in Parliament and you've got a few minutes to do it, then ban the burqa was everyone remembers those words. But the point is, face coverings in this country should be banned on the grounds of public safety and on the grounds of, in my view, suppression of women. This is not our culture.
If a woman chooses to do it...
I'm going to push back on that straight away. No woman would actually choose to wear a religious face covering. It's something, in my view, that they are indoctrinated into. They are told probably that it's unbecoming of their particular religion and race, and they're probably going to be shunned if they don't do it. So it's about shame, it's about domination, and it's about keeping women in their place, which is subservient to men. And these are just my views. Other opinions are valid. I'm not saying I'm right. This is just my opinion on the matter.
I don't buy that argument. What woman...
Well, some women do.
What woman...
As Ali will, I'm sure,
Can I just say, please, my point of view, which is what you're asking, what woman wants to cover themselves in a black cloth, especially it's 35 degrees yesterday in London. This is not our culture. If you want to go around in a black cloth, then go back to the country where that is their culture.
Completely agree. The religious face coverings are foreign. They are alien to the United Kingdom. They are not indigenous. They are not from here. This is not racism. This is stating facts. This is quantifiable. Religious face coverings of any type like this are not going to help you assimilate or integrate into the United Kingdom. This isn't controversial. I'm not saying anything that common sense won't tell you. I'm not saying you anything that isn't true. My MP is speaking for me, and I've got no problem with anything she's saying.
But we don't want it here.
There are many Britishborn Muslims who wear the face covering.
I know. I went campaigning in Bolton in 2017, and I went up and down streets, and women would not speak to me, are frightened to speak to me.
There we go. The people, the women in the religion of peace, according to my MP, are not really allowed to speak to non-Muslim women. Now, whether that's accurate or not, I've got no reason to doubt my MP. It sounds about right. Let me know if you think she's right. You let me know if she's exaggerating. I'd like to know either way. Again, nothing controversial yet. Let's continue.
Only got 3 minutes left on this. Ali?
Well, first of all, I think you're being dishonest. I think when you said that you intended for it to be all face covering, you didn't. You went up in your very first speech, didn't talk about the NHS, didn't talk about the economy, didn't talk about housing, didn't talk about the plethora of issues that seriously affect your constituent.
So what he's saying here is she's not picking safe subjects that are pre-approved, that are accepted in polite society. These are the things that he means. And if you watch now, he's going to keep on interrupting my MP, because if he is a Muslim, and what we are led to believe about women being subservient to men in Islam, it's not surprising that many men of that faith do this to women all the time. It's to show domination, and it's to show intimidation. Basically, know your place. Again, this is just my view, my opinion. If I'm wrong, you let me know.
One of the biggest issues in my for my constituents. This is one of the biggest issues.
How many members of your constituency? How many members of your constituency wear the burka? How many people in your constituency wear the burka?
Society.
It's not necessarily in the constituency itself. It's when I go to larger cities like London, like Birmingham, like Manchester, like Liverpool, like Cardiff, like Belfast, like Glasgow. It's intimidating. I have no right to feel intimidated in my country when there is a culture that seems designed to not include me, and they look down on me because I'm not part of their religion, and they intimidate me with the way that they carry themselves and the way that they dress in public, openly different to the native population. This bothers me and this intimidates me, and it needs to stop. So when my MP is saying these things, it may not be a particularly large issue in Runcorn and Helsby, because we're in a shire town. When you go into the large cities and you see the people, the Muslims of this particular ethnic minority, shall we say, currently anyway, when they all group together and they're all wearing religious get-ups like this, it can be scary and it can be intimidating. Now, what do we always know, and what are we always told? It's not about what their intention is, it's about perceived harm. It's about the perception that their behaviour is having on me. That's the threshold. So it's not about intention. It's not whether their intention is there to harm me. It's not whether their religious garb or get up. Their intention is to intimidate me. It's the perception that I have, which is right. It's alien to the United Kingdom. It is not indigenous. This is not how we carry ourselves in Britain. My MP spitting facts. Reform UK is spitting facts on this particular point. And she does speak for me.
How many people in your constituency?
I'm saying to you that one of the biggest issues raised on me on the doorstep was the cultural integration of foreigners in places like Runcorn.
That's the issue, alright, and this is the broader point that she's trying to make, and I'm going to expand on it slightly here. She's using the burqa, or the religious face coverings, as a wider point on the religious integration, or the assimilation into the secular country that is the United Kingdom. If you're importing your faith, which is from the Middle East and outside of Europe, into the United Kingdom, or into the wider European continent, and you're bringing that, and you're wearing it on your sleeve, and you're making a song and dance about it, that's not how Europeans behave. Broadly speaking, we don't do that. This is alien to the way that we do things, alright? This is not integration, this is not assimilation, and it's broadly other things as well, like learn the language of the country that you're coming to. If I went and moved to Spain, I'm not talking about the British in Spain that don't do what I'm saying. This is best practice. I was going to move to Spain. I would learn Spanish. I would at least have a basic understanding of the language, and then you'd pick up more and more as you live there for longer. It's just the way of the world. It's the same in France. If you went on a holiday, you'd want to know a few basic phrases to get by. And if you chose to move there, you would learn the language. It's called common courtesy. It's respect. It's something that we do, especially in Western European countries. I found, broadly speaking, the further you get from Western European countries, further afield, even into Eastern Europe, and then Asia, specifically South Asia, The further away that you get from the norms of the West, the more impolite and rude people are, because they don't think that there's a social obligation to integrate, and they are offended if you call them out for being rude. And that's what I'm doing here, and that's what my MP is doing. Okay, we have certain customs and norms, and if you don't adopt these norms and customs, you are the outsider, and that is what we need to stop.
Runcorn and Helsby, and that that was a big issue for my constituents, which is why I raised it.
Yes, but the question is how many. You raised the burqa. You then said that I wanted to be a broader issue about face covering.
Absolutely.
That's not what you said.
Yeah, I've said that.
You knew what you were doing. The audience listening knows what you were doing. I know what you were doing.
Yeah, they're making a very specific comment about a particular religious dress that is not native to the United Kingdom, and she's using it to score a valid and very real political point that people that are coming to the United Kingdom, either they are first generation immigrants or they're children of immigrants, they brought their imported norms and cultures with them, and they do not see that they need to integrate or want to integrate into broader British society, and then they have the audacity to say that I'm the one with the problem. I'm not having it, and I'll call it out here.
You were feeding and pandering to an increasingly divisive conversation.
It's not divisive. What he says by increasingly divisive is that people like me, other YouTubers, and political voices, both online and offline, are not going to accept that diversity is a strength anymore. Alright? We don't have to accept that lie. We can call out different cultures that are not as equal or as good as Western culture. And I've got no shame in that. I'm part of Western civilization. We created most of the modern world. Britain specifically ended slavery and created the Industrial Revolution. I'm incredibly proud and happy about all of that. So yeah, we are going to have this in a divisive conversation, as you call it, because the danger is that Britain and the Western world is losing something really special. And we're not going to lose it without a fight. A political fight, always.
Because you knew it would play well for you for your political base.
She's right. He's right there. It's playing damn well with the grassroots. This is exactly the type of thing I want my MPs to be saying. Damn well.
The reality is, if you're talking about crime in the burqa, let's look at what the National Crime Agency say, what the police say, what continuous organisations who study this say, and not one of them says this is a significant problem that needs to be fixed.
I want to bring Steve in.
When they say significant problem, they're probably talking about general figures, not per capita. Just like the grooming gangs, and they like to do this, and they like to not be specific. I would like to see the per capita statistics on that, because I'm sure it'll paint a different picture to what he's trying to describe.
If I may, just one other thing.
We've literally got 2 minutes left, Ali. Steve, you used to represent a constituency with a very high Muslim population.
Yeah, about 20% of the constituency, British Muslims, about a third would vote Conservative. So I'll make 3 points. First, everyone, without exception, should be prepared to show their face when it is relevant for security.
And they do.
And they do.
Not true. We've got a trial ongoing at the moment, I think it's Liverpool Crown Court, where we've got those thugs from the Manchester airport incident last year, where they assaulted a policewoman because the policewoman tried to get the woman, the mother of the 2 thugs, to remove her face covering because of the security risk, and they didn't do that, and they took major offence to the policewoman doing her job, and the armed police officer stepped in as well, and they decided to assault the police officers because they didn't like the fact that they're being asked to conform to British norms. Now, they're in court this week, and next week there's been a media silence on that particular case. It'll be interesting to see if they get off or not. Anyway, let's continue.
Without exception. Second, people confuse the burqa, niqab and the hijab. And forgive me, I think Sarah's saying burqa when she means niqab, and she might want to ban the niqab. Some people want to ban the hijab. But what I'd say is the hijab is scarcely any different to what a nun would wear.
Right, okay, I put a post on my community feed about this a few days ago. Okay, so I think it's relevant to what he's saying here. And he's conflating 2 separate things here, okay. Christian women either Catholic or Protestants, do not wear nuns' habits. Okay, that is the distinction, that is the difference. So this may be very similar to what a nun wears, a nun's habit, that may be true. When a woman, a nun, decides to devote their life to a vocation, such as becoming a nun, either in Protestant or Catholic circles, they choose to wear a habit. Okay, it's an open choice. And when they leave, if they ever decide to leave that vocation and rejoin broader society, they're not compelled to wear that for life. So he's being very, very dishonest with his description here. He's being very, very disingenuous. And I'm not having it. I'm going to call that out here. There's a very big difference between being told. If a woman was told in the United Kingdom, a Catholic or Protestant white woman, i.e. the majority, was told to wear a religious garb like this, a habit, because it's part of their culture, do you think your MPs would be saying, oh well, it's just their religion? No, of course not. They wouldn't be doing that at all. They'd be demanding that you accept the secular society that we live in. There should be no carve-outs. Accept the secular trappings of Britain or leave. We'll continue.
And nobody's talking about banning that. So I think the crucial point here is people should be prepared to show their face. But the third point I'd make, which to me is really the bottom line, in a free society, politicians ought not to be in the business of telling women to wear clothes which are more or less demure by their own judgment. Some women are choosing to wear the hijab or indeed the niqab for religious reasons because they don't wish to inspire men to temptation.
Okay, so in this particular culture that we seem to have imported into the United Kingdom, there seems to be a prevailing view in that particular culture that men can't help themselves. They've got low impulse control. It's basically the argument that people that assault women have used since the dawn of time. Basically, if they wear a particular dress, or they dress in a provocative way, they've got it coming, they're asking for it, essentially. Especially if they're walking down a dark alley without a male guardian in the middle of the night. Their argument would be, well, what did you expect would happen? No. We got rid of that argument, I think, at the beginning of the 20th century. It's very, very outdated. And this is the whole thing. A lot of these cultural norms that we're importing, we got rid of centuries ago. And we got rid of them for good reason. Because it's not modern and it's not progressive. Alright? Remember that. It's only progressive. If you're going to be progressive, you need to be progressive all the way, or the whole thing falls apart.
And I don't want to be there, but others do, and I think they should be free to take those views. But as long as they're prepared to show their face when it's relevant for security reasons.
So I would say other countries like Denmark that have banned religious coverings, in France, for example, is he saying that they've got it wrong? They're Western liberal democracies like United Kingdom. Why have they got it wrong and we've got it right? Have they got it right if we got it wrong? You let me know. You comment below.
Jim, I think the fact that Sarah, in trying to justify herself, has used the term foreigners and go back to the country you came from, I think tells us that she's pursuing a divisive agenda.
Divisive agenda, yet again, that's the buzzword, that's the go-to word, and they only use that when it's the conversations that they don't have in polite society. They would love to go onto TV and call her a bigot and a racist. They would love to do that, but they can't do that anymore because the Overton window is shifted. The conversation is not there anymore. If this was 5 or 10 years ago, they would have probably run her out of Parliament with a pitchfork. But the conversation's just not there, so they can't do it. So well done. Well done.
Designed to pick on a minority?
No, not at all. Okay, the Equalities Act 2010 is specifically designed to keep the majority in place, not the minority, or protect their rights, even if that's what it says on the tin. It's to say that you can't critique government policy of mass migration were they bringing cultural norms that are alien to the UK. You're not really allowed to critique that on a personal level. You can't call people out on it because that would be in violation of the law. No, it's done so government can try and justify their policy. That's the only reason that law was brought in.
I don't think that's really where we need to go if we're trying to encourage integration.
Final word from you.
Standing up for British values and what the people of this country want to claim back, and that's our culture.
Completely agree. I don't think many people would disagree with that watch my channel. Reform UK aren't perfect. My MP is speaking up for the matters that I care about. And as I say, I'm sure there's a lot of red wall MPs. There's a lot of people all over the country that would like an MP that's doing stuff like this. What I can say, what does intimidate me, and I do find worrying, is when I see stuff like this. When I see stuff like this in London. Shut up. Shut up. When I see things like this in British cities, this troubles me. This concerns me. I've spoken to women in my family, and it frightens them. Alright? Who's speaking up for these people? Who's speaking up for their concerns? You know, the majority population of Britain. Things like this are done, in my opinion, for two reasons. To show that they have the whip hand, and to show that they're dominant. It's a show of dominance. You don't see Christians or Catholics behaving like this. We have something in the Catholic and Christian faith known as modesty. You don't brag about your religion, there's no need to. You're secure in your belief, there was literally no need to do it. You let me know if you think that you want to be seeing images like this or videos like this all over the United Kingdom. I fear that may become the norm, and if you have an issue with that, they will call you, they'll say you have a phobia. I'm going to be very, very clear. I do not have a phobia. A phobia would be a irrational fear of something. Like if I'm afraid of a shark, that would be irrational. They live in the water, I live on land, and sharks kill 5 people a year. And there's millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of people in the sea every single year, and they're not attacked or killed by sharks. That would be a irrational fear. When you're importing a culture that is not the norm in Western society, and you have legitimate and very real concerns about integration and how that demographic is going to substitute something that's sacred and unique to England and Britain, that's not a phobia. That's a very real concern, and I think a lot of people have that concern. It's completely rational. Now, if you like this video and you think I make some good points, let me know. Comment, like and subscribe. I think my MP is doing a good job. Not perfect, made a few cock-ups, but she's a good egg in my view. Now, have a good evening and thank you for your time.